Rod Dillon's funeral afterward, and we lost Rod this week, great Southbrooker and member of our community. And after I was sitting with Bob and Jen Westerfield, Bob and Jen run Side Effects Incorporated, our local company. And Bob was telling me that, their mission statement is, their mission is to develop and nurture relationships within communities while making a difference, serving Christ, and positively affecting people's lives. And they employ about 45 people, and we were talking about that. And Bob got to telling me this story. Look at this picture. He said one day, a while back, he was behind this truck, and this truck had this tiny little sign on the back, "Handy Works for God." Phone number. He said, I had to get real close to read it. He said, as a company, what they do is they provide scoreboards for schools and things like that, signage. They're in the signage industry. And so they were talking about venturing into car wrapping. So Bob immediately gets real close to the car, dials the number on the truck. That was that truck. And he calls the guy up, the owner who leads this Handy Works for God. You may have seen the truck. And he says, hey, I'm Bob Westerfield, and I saw your number on the back of your truck. And what's wrong? Nothing's wrong, but I'm trying to venture in our company to wrapping trucks. Could I wrap yours for free? Well, at first the guy thought this is some scam. They had him come in, and Bob agreed. They agreed to do it, and the guy said, you won't believe this, but my wife and I the other day were just commiserating. We don't have the money to advertise. We don't have the means by which to advertise. What are we going to do? And that next day, you call me and say, would you like for me to wrap your truck for free? Now, I don't know if you noticed, but that stands out a little bit more than a little sign on the tailgate of that truck. And you see, that when you just look at the world around you, that's reinvestment into God's work in this world. It doesn't mean you always turn your money back into Christian companies, but it does mean that, like Bob, when there's an opportunity on the tailgate of a truck, you look for that opportunity, and you often see what other people miss. You might have followed that truck, and you didn't see that same opportunity. Maybe because you're not in that industry, but maybe because you're not looking. Jesus told an amazing story. I love this story. Luke chapter 16. I want to read it to you. He said this, and I'm just going to read you the story. He told his disciples, there was a rich man whose manager was accused of wasting his possessions. Mismanagement of assets. So this is a very parallel story to the parable of the talents. So he called him in and asked him, what is this I hear about you? Give an account of your management, because you cannot be manager any longer. You've mismanaged my assets. This is real similar to the one-talent guy. And the manager said to himself, so he thinks to himself, what shall I do now? My master has taken away my job. I'm not strong enough to dig. I have palm-olive hands. And I'm ashamed to beg. I know what I'll do so that when I lose my job here, people will welcome me into their houses. So he called in each of his master's debtors. He asked the first, how much do you owe my master? 800 gallons of olive oil, he replied. The master told him, take your bill, sit down quickly, make it 400. Then he asked the second, how much do you have? 1,000 bushels of wheat, he replied. He told him, take your bill, make it 800. The master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. This is why Jesus would teach. They're all sitting around. Everybody in this story is corrupt. But he said he's got a point. And this is one of those things that he'd be telling, and you'd be getting a kick out of this because you don't expect a rabbi to tell a story like this. Then look at what he said. Look at this on the screen. Look at what Jesus said. He commended him, for the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than are the people of light. I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it is gone, you'll be welcomed into eternal dwellings. And then he goes on to say, same things he said in the parable of talents. Whoever can be trusted with very little will be entrusted with little. Whoever can be trusted with much will be given much. What's he saying?